I have been a Microsoft fan for a very long time. I had the original Xbox, I had an Xbox 360, I even bought a Zune in 2006. And for as long as I can remember, Microsoft has been cursed with a messaging problem. That's what people say, at least. But over the years, I have noticed a pattern that I'd like to break down and reference in this video. Microsoft doesn't have a messaging problem. You just need to let them cook. So this is the pattern that Microsoft is cursed to relive over and over again. Microsoft will announce a new product or service that transcends what we are currently familiar with. People don't immediately see the vision because what Microsoft is proposing is a new concept. People never actually use the product and never see for themselves what Microsoft was trying to accomplish. And then people use the poor product performance as proof that the vision wasn't valid in the first place. TLDR, Microsoft announces a new thing, people call it stupid because they don't understand it. And usually years later, someone else will release a dumbed down version of that thing, and people will be perfectly okay with it. Now I'm going to go through every instance of this happening that I can personally remember, starting with the Zune. And I'm just doing this from the perspective of someone who actually used all of these products. This isn't a deep dive or anything like that. It's 2006. The Zune launched into a world that the iPod already existed in. And iPods were cool. You'd get these colorful devices, you'd sign up for iTunes, you'd pay like $1 per song, and if you ever plugged your iPod into a different computer, it would erase everything. It was great. And then Microsoft releases this bulky brown rectangle, and people were like, ew, what is that? Nobody has a Zune. Well, let me tell you about it. The Zune had Wi-Fi built in, it had a radio, it had this cool social feature where you could get samples of songs from other Zune users if you walked near them in public. This never actually happened in real life because nobody had a Zune, but it was a cool feature, kind of like Nintendo's Street Pass. And the Zune ran on a subscription service. You'd pay like $15 a month, you could listen to as much music as you wanted, and you were given 10 credits per month that you could use on songs to keep forever. Does that sound familiar to you? Exactly. It's the same business model that we use today, except it was actually better because you were actually building a library of owned content over time. I can still play all of my own songs on my Zune today, even though the service was discontinued. And did I mention it was brown? A nice chocolate brown. I was a child in 2006, so I didn't get it. But this looks so nice to me as an adult, like a nice piece of furniture. Now let's talk about Microsoft's most notorious blunder, the always online nature of the Xbox One. And this one is so freaking weird because they never actually did it. So they've been catching hell for over a decade over some shit that never actually happened. It was just the idea that people thought sounded bad. But let's talk about what that idea was. Our boy Don got up on that stage and proposed a console that would require a regular internet connection to function properly and would primarily focus on playing digital games. You'd lose access to used games, but in my opinion, used game sales are just a hair removed from piracy in the sense that you're paying for that experience, but you're not putting money in the developer's pocket. But I digress. But in exchange for those restrictions, digital games would be cheaper. If game companies can get 100% of the revenue generated by their product, they can afford to sell that product for less. Don't believe me? Look at Steam. They're notorious for having better prices, no physical copies to be found. They also pitched the idea of letting you share some of your library with friends, much like that feature from the Zune. Would that have worked? Maybe not, but we'll never know because we ran Don out of town before we could even see if we liked it. And look where we are now, still have the online requirements on every platform without any of those benefits. Nintendo just launched a console that's literally bricked out of the box, and it's been selling like hotcakes. I guess Don was right all along. And while we're on the topic of the Xbox One reveal, let's talk about the Kinect and the TV situation. The Xbox One was pitched as an all-in-one entertainment device that would let you conveniently interact with all of your entertainment through one device without having to constantly switch between inputs. It could also control the devices it was connected to using an early version of what we now call HDMI CEC. And this was all very convenient because smart TVs weren't super common at the time, and the Xbox One could basically turn any TV into a modern smart TV. But people didn't want to hear it. They saw the Xbox One reveal as de-emphasizing gaming and focusing on TV, when in reality they said at the beginning of the presentation that the reveal was focused on displaying new features, and gaming would be the focus of the E3 presentation.
Here at Xbox, it's no secret that we love gaming. We love the immersive worlds, the epic battles, and the thrill of competing with our friends. With Xbox One, you're going to experience a new generation of gaming like you've never seen before. And you're going to see that in a little bit and a lot more at E3. For now, though, I want to show you how we're going to take that passion for gaming and apply it to your entire TV experience.
The Xbox One also shipped with an upgraded Kinect sensor that added voice and motion controls to your entertainment experience. All of those features I mentioned could be accessed using your voice in your hands. But people didn't like the idea of having a speaker in your room always listening. Fast forward to today, and almost every person has a diminished version of what the Kinect was in their homes, and they are happily using it. Alexa, what's the weather outside today? The Kinect also worked pretty decently for gaming and fitness, but it wasn't perfect and definitely could have used a couple of more iterations. Maybe haptic feedback gloves or something. But the world had no patience for the $100 Kinect, even though they seemed to have unlimited patience for Nintendo's gimmicks and the multitude of VR experiences that are a lot more cumbersome and way more expensive. Moving on to the Xbox Series generation, we have quick resume that non-Xbox users still don't understand and downplay to this day. If Sony ever figures out how to do it, people will praise it like it's the second coming of Jesus. But what I mainly want to focus on is the real killer feature of this generation, Game Pass. The biggest problem that developers currently face is oversaturation. If every game that released this year was a 10 out of 10, the average consumer wouldn't have enough time to play all of them. That would lead to poor sales across the board as everyone's dollars are spread too thin, or at best, people just waiting for sales so that they can add the games to their backlog and still not play them. Game Pass offers an alternative to the backlog by letting you interact with a large number of new and relevant games at a price that is sustainable for most people. This year I was able to check out Indiana Jones, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, Avowed, South of Midnight, and Doom the Dark Ages. Did I beat all of those games? Absolutely not. I have a job, I make YouTube videos that people don't watch, I'm a busy guy. But I was able to interact with all of these games without spending like $300. And all of these developers were able to get some money from me instead of no money, because if I had to buy all of these games at full price, I probably wouldn't have bought any of them because I don't have the time. But instead of looking at Game Pass as an option for people that want to spend their time and money more sensibly, people on the outside that don't understand the vision condemn it, speculating that it's actually somehow destroying the industry. Game Pass is saving the industry in my opinion. With Game Pass, everybody eats. It's a force of stability within the gaming industry, and that's what the industry needs. Now we move past the present into the near future with the ROG Xbox Ally, and the promise of a unified Xbox experience. A few months ago, Microsoft launched their "This is an Xbox" campaign, and once again, people didn't immediately understand the vision, and instead of letting them cook, people mocked the idea. But to really understand what the hell Microsoft was on about, you have to ask more questions. What is an Xbox? An Xbox is a computer with the Xbox experience put onto it. The components that make up an Xbox Series X are not fundamentally different from the components that make up a computer. And with that ad campaign and the reveal of the ROG Xbox Ally, you can see that Microsoft intends to take that Xbox experience and put it onto computers and other devices, thus turning them into Xboxes. If it looks like an Xbox, feels like an Xbox, and bloops like an Xbox, is it not an Xbox? This is high concept shit. Wake the fuck up, samurai. Xbox isn't the box itself, it's the experience that comes with it, and it's coming to a device near you very soon. To wrap up, I honestly don't think that Microsoft is bad at messaging. People just always lose their freaking minds before they even have the thing in their hands, and they tend to sit in that ignorance forever. Just because you don't immediately understand the vision doesn't mean that there's something wrong with it. If you don't understand something, do more research, ask more questions. If you dismiss something because you don't understand it, you're a Luddite. Microsoft doesn't have the curse of bad messaging. It's the Luddite's curse. Well, that's all I have for today. Are you excited for the future of Xbox? Do you miss the Zune? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching.